How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lone Wolf, and today, first things first, I lost the beginning of the footage, so I'm not actually using the F715 Loaf today. It's just a stunt double Loaf. Yeah, I just had to go back. I kind of needed to recreate the beginning of the footage to draw the line I'm going to take over to Burn Forest. The mission I'm doing today is Help the Villagers 2, I believe it's called. Yeah, so I'm going to pop out on this gateway and then head kind of up the road. There's a trailer there. At the minute, I think it's a ramped flatbed. And then, yeah, kind of cut across the mountain. You're basically heading back to the farm. And there's four... What were they? I can't remember if they were vehicle spare parts or service spare parts. When you actually look on the mission, again, apologies because I kind of lost the first bit of footage because of these stupid trees in the burned area of the map that just get you like ridiculously stuck on them. So it took a little bit longer than expected, and yeah, I lost a bit of the footage. It shows up on the mission that you need four, I believe it is service spare parts. But when you actually look at the trailer and everything, there's only three that get highlighted and appear on the map. The reason why is two of them have tipped off the trailer, so they show up. There's two still on the trailer, but for whatever reason it only kind of appears on the game as like there's only one more. So don't panic, because I thought like I kind of skipped this mission a little bit. I was hoping to have a truck nearby that I could just drive past and have a look when I remember. Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was like missing a piece of cargo and it was kind of going to screw up the mission a bit, but yeah, it was all good in the end. But like I said, I'll say it now just in case anyone like kind of sets the truck up similar to me to do this mission. The trailer is, it's like a gooseneck trailer. I can't remember the exact name. It's a red trailer. Yeah, gooseneck. So you're gonna need, I believe it's a saddle low, but I can't even remember that completely off the top of my head. I just had in my head for whatever reason that it was a ramped flatbed, and the weird thing is I even know it was a gooseneck. I've had conversations with people in the comments about how I don't use that gooseneck and I haven't for ages and I should try it and all the rest of it. Yeah, so I set my truck up today, hence why I took the Tayga really, because I was looking for a vehicle that can have like the Holy Trinity thing going on, the crane, the sideboard bed, and still be able to attach a trailer. Obviously the crane, yeah, to load like the cargo that it tipped off. So I just figured like this would be a pretty good setup in the end. I knew because I've also got to drive over to Burn Forest, there's a bit of a trek from say like the garage on the Albany River over to the gateway, so I didn't really want to get any like slow trucks. I know there's a couple of bigger, slower trucks that can like quite easily have the crane, sideboard and trailer option. And yeah, in the end, I mean, I've recovered quite a few trucks on this phase because of just all the glitching and blue screening going on, so I've actually got quite a sort of nice selection of trucks in my garage. Quite often I just go and usually buy like the next truck I'm using or whatever, and then I obviously just tend to abandon them on the map. So yeah, I rarely have like any good trucks in my garage for too long, but as I've recovered loads, yeah, this was sitting near the top and I figured it'd sort of work out pretty nicely. It's got good fuel tank, so sort of long range enough. You can drop the hammer, it's got the high range gearbox, it's got decent sized tyres. I went for the chained, I believe, in the end, instead of the muds. The main reason why, really, was on Burn Forest, there's this hill I want to climb up again that I keep trying to do, even though there is a road that just loops around. I kind of figured that these chained would probably be a little bit better climbing up that hill versus the muds, and generally speaking, this truck's not that tippy anyway, even with the Loaf in the back. It's ticking along nicely. Yeah, so overall, that's why I kind of settled on this, really. I mean, originally I was thinking of using the original Tayga. I was kind of in the mood for that, but this one, they're pretty similar. This has just basically got a longer chassis, so you can actually fit like have the crane, sideboard, and trailer option, whereas the original Tayga's quite a bit of a compact little thing. So, ironically, had I been paying attention to the mission, it probably wouldn't have been a bad one to take in the end, the other Tayga, because I could have set it up with a crane, and I believe you can still have like a saddle low on there. But anyway, it is what it is. It's funny with this game because I kind of noticed with any other games I play, even though I've not really played any others for a good old while, but you play a game and you get used to it. You're playing Grand Theft Auto or whatever, and you could not play the game for a week more, probably pick the game back up, and within reason you're just going to pick it back up and be straight about your business. I don't know what it is with SnowRunner, and particularly that like the editing, for example, in this video is a bit horrific because just with like not even playing the game for a couple of days, I don't know, I just turned into a complete amateur. A completely disastrous at this game, like a brand new baby trying to learn it all again. yeah, and it just goes wrong. I'm scruffy with the footage, and yeah, I don't know what's going on. I was running a little bit late tonight, really, so it was a bit of a sort of squeeze to try and get this in. Yeah, that's what she said, of course. Yeah, so I was kind of like, for a start, I've got 2 contracts. Oh no, sorry, I've got a couple more than 2. There's 2 main contracts where I've got to deliver water and all the rest of it. I thought I'll kind of spread those missions out a little bit, not too much, but I think the last contract I did was like delivering water, so yeah, to break it up. And then in the end, as I was scrolling through the missions, I think I've done every mission now on Albany River. I've done most of the contracts. There's the delivering timber for the locals 1 and 2. I'm not even sure if I'll get around to them. I probably will, but I don't know. I've got to be honest, I don't really feel too enthusiastic about doing them, for whatever reason. Never really tickled my fancy when I first seen them on the game, and yeah, they're one of the few missions I've got left now. And then I've still got 1 mission as well to deliver oversized cargo from the quarry. Climbing over here, or, well, first attempt, failed. It's one of the few places I can say that Derry 15C special thing actually did drive over that kind of... It worked out pretty nicely as it got its front half over, it sort of seesawed. But you can see there, even in the relatively short distance, I was still able to sort of drop the hammer, stick it in stick it in high gear, and then it kind of beached me, but there's enough momentum, it sort of flicked my nose down, and the back wheels got a bit of grip, and we bumped our way up there. Yeah, this little shortcut here, I actually like it as a concept. Again, the truck I just drove past that was kind of in the corner, that, I can't remember the name of the mission, but there's a mission that finishes there. Just when you look on the map, the other option is to follow the normal road, but it kind of loops around the bottom, and it feels just too long and unnecessary. When you look on the map, like this little shortcut, yeah, it just makes sense. And it's great the whole way, except right here there's these 2 trees lying across the road, these like burnt forest type of trees, which, yeah, I don't know, are essentially like a new kind of tree, really. They're pretty much every bit as annoying as every other tree, but they just stick to your truck and completely hook into the tyres. I mean, this thing's got pretty decently sized tyres, it sits nice and high on its suspension and everything, and you can see, between the fact that they've put both trees on, you just, whatever the hitboxes are going on, it really won't let you bump over them. I was pulling on various different trees with a winch, going flat out, reversing, doing a little run up and all the rest of it. It was having none of it, so finally, I mean, this is basically, that's why I'm blaming them trees for why I lost the footage right at the beginning, where obviously I normally have this thing parked in the garage before I set off on the mission. Yeah, just because there's so much faffing around there, obviously I've just edited quite a big majority of it out. Things were going well, dropping the hammer, seen those bloody tree stumps at the last second. See Loaf though, he knows. Tuck, duck and roll, he's out of there. And you see, if it wasn't for the old beast, I'd basically have to recover this truck at this point, or go and find another truck I've left nearby, which could well inevitably be another goddamn horse sitting around somewhere. Yeah, going for the rescue. This thing, well, it's not got the best selection of winch points. It's not terrible, but to be honest, just more than anything, the winches are horrific these days. Like, I remember the autonomous winch used to be a bit meh and weak like this. That's why I always, like, even though the autonomous pretty much guarantees your escape and everything, the advanced winch just worked a little bit better. It's obviously got a bit more reach and had a bit more power. Yeah, they just, like, particularly as well, the shorter the winch length gets, like, the weaker they are. So I flipped the truck back to its side, that was fine. It then started just dragging along its side a bit nearer towards me. And then as you can see now, it just, like, the winches have got no guts. So in the end, I'm not really retracting the winch as such. Well, what I'm doing is, like, letting off the accelerator, rolling back a bit, so it'll force it to kind of retract a bit of the winch, and then flooring it forward again, and it's just kind of the weight of the loaf's like bobbing forward. And yeah, I mean, we've got him out there, saved the day, goddamn horse. But yeah, it's that little shortcut is like handy. I've been through there 3 or 4 times for different missions, and every single time those trees just completely cock it up and eat all the time that you've just saved. Which, funnily enough, I've probably finally learnt my lesson now, that in the end, unlike with this truck, I just kind of went round to the right of them, I suppose, as like the direction I was approaching them from. Yeah, I'll do that next time. You can even see that stupid little twig poking out on the road, and yeah, took a bit of my suspension with it while I was at it. And then after all that faffing, got here and it was like, oh yeah, crap. Now let's see if it blue screens me. Which, to its credit, one of the few times recently it actually didn't blue screen me. It did manage to load over to Burned Forest. And then yeah, driving up here, there's the hill I'm going to cut up instead of just following the road round. There's the trailer pretty much just a little bit further up the road. You can see there the 3 yellow squares kind of highlighting up, but like I said, there is 2 on the trailer, but it's only showing up as 1. And then basically cut further along the mountain road, there is actually a little track running down there. It looks like I'm just kind of veering completely off the road and going down the side of the mountain, which I essentially am. Put it this way, if there was no road there, I would still be doing the same route. But there is a road there, so I'm covered, if the insurance company asks. I didn't even bother with getting some fuel from there. Again though, this Tayga's pretty good on the old fuel tank, so you can get a good old long trip going before you need to dip into the old fuel reserves. And yeah, at this point I could just have followed the road on instead of peeling off to the left here, but I don't know what it is about this hill. I think it's just that it's an awkward, annoying hill, and it's a little bit of a challenge. I probably could have risked it and just floored it around there. I let off on purpose. I wasn't sure if I was going to like ride that bank and tip over, which I possibly would have. Yeah, but when I've attempted this hill in various other times, I've had like the Derry Special isn't very good at it, even with or without a trailer. A few of the trucks, the Dolphin did pretty good going up here. The Tayga's done pretty decent. The original Tayga. This is now Tony Tayga, and yeah. I mean, got a horse on board, usually do. And like I say, this was the main reason I had changed, was I figured they'd probably bite in a little better going along here. The old engine though does like feels like it's, I don't know, a bit detuned compared to what it used to be. I don't know if it's just me. Just I don't know, it just gives up in the auto gears a bit too easily. Yeah, it's particularly that bit there. That's where the muds tend to just like slide on those rocks. But this thing just about pulled its nose around. Got started like slipping into that little gorge going on there. I flung a winch out. I'm counting it. I didn't really use the winch to pull me up the hill. Not that I'd care if I did, but yeah, just to stop me tipping over. And the good news was, I think, well, I don't know, they got in high or stayed in high. Either way, it's quite nice because motoring up that hill there, once you lose your speed, particularly in something like the Derrys or the just bigger, slower trucks, it's yeah, a bit of a slow crawl climbing up there. And now I was thinking, oh, things are going well. Got here. You can tell when the camera moves a bit. I was like, oh my god, it's a fucking gooseneck. And then it's all coming back to me. I remember now, it was a gooseneck. I have yeah, royally misplanned this mission. Obviously I've got a sideboard on, so that's not really going to help the situation. So now I was just kind of slowly floating the camera around thinking, damn, what do I do? I've basically got 2 options. I could either abort the whole mission, potentially even the footage, go back to Alberline River, get a vehicle with like a saddle low trailer and drive it back over here. At that point, I'm pretty certain this is a saddle low trailer, but then I was like, oh, what if it's a saddle high? And then I decided, do you know what? Whatever the saying is, improvise, adapt, overcome. We've got a goddamn horse with us. We can get this done. Jump him out the sideboard. That now gives me, obviously, enough room for 2 slots of cargo. So that's half the dilemma solved. Get Loaf out of the sideboard, which is a bit of an awkward one because I'm kind of sitting on a bit of a hill, but we'll get there. Oh, he saves himself. Goddamn professional. Yeah, so like I say, that frees up 2 slots of cargo. Obviously there's 4 in total, so I'm going to have to figure a few things out. I moved the cargo up next to the trailer. That was before I decided, shall I come back with a vehicle with a saddle low, or shall I just get the Loaf out the sideboard and do it this way. I was a bit saddened though, because now I'm obviously using the sideboard and I'll be needing the crane and all the rest of it, so it's like I'm going to have to abandon the Loaf at this point. It's a dark moment in SnowRunner history. Yeah, got the 2 pieces of cargo in. This trailer, obviously, then I realised they're packed on the trailer, so I can't crane them until I tip the trailer. And the funny thing is, even though I suppose it's a saddle low, so it's probably quite a solid trailer, the thing would tip every 2 seconds. As soon as you want it to tip, it won't. And then kind of the nose of my truck fell down the hill, so it was that time again, as it usually is, to whip out the Loaf, get him to tip the trailer over so the cargo unpacks. Because obviously I'd need a saddle low to attach to the trailer to have the option of unpacking the cargo. So yeah, the only option I had left at that point was to just tip the trailer and make it sort of do it that way. I was trying to pull the Tayga backwards out. I even had it attached in the end to a tree that's like immovable. I believe my fuel tanks and possibly the legs of the crane were like hooked on the lip of that hill, so I just had no chance. It was just doing where it like catches in the actual terrain, and it's just like an impossible hitbox to move really. Yeah, in the end it was better to just bump down the hill because I'm essentially going to have to turn around. Bit of editing there just to save the slowness of the crane. Got both of those loaded up though. For whatever reason, again, why I did a bit of the editing, I kept putting that rear box down, it just wouldn't sit flat. Kept doing it loads, and then now, yeah, this was like the sketchy bit really, because obviously the weight's sitting pretty high. I've got essentially like put the two pieces of cargo on top of the others, put the crane over. It actually doesn't sit too well to like flushly sit the arm of the crane over the top of the two pieces of cargo. It ends up kind of like butting up against the first bit of cargo, but then the angle isn't really right for the rear bit, so I've left the the crane cable thing attached to that rear bit of cargo. Yeah, do a 5,000 point turn because that trailer's kind of jutting out and I was getting in the way a little bit. But we did make it out there. We did a U-turn, climbed up back out of here. See, the gearbox keeps throwing in the towel pretty quickly though, and then it just wants to jump back to first, and it's those little like lulls in power. Yeah, obviously I did say I'd have to leave the Loaf, and that was theoretically true, but I decided no. There's a goddamn horse, he's coming with me. So I was trying to get him on the bonnet, kind of got him on this angle. I mean, he fit-ish. I could probably kind of like pull him flush with the winch cable, but I kind of need the cable for the crane for that last piece of cargo, so there was no option left. Had to be a face-sitting Loaf. But he's on. Look at him, goddamn professional. Got a surprised look on his face, but he's made it. I mean, even when I did attach the cable, it works out quite nicely because the bonnet kind of goes wider. It's spread me Loaf. Look at him. It's like, oh my god, his wheels are all pointing out and everything. Like, you good, bro? He's like, nah, man, I'm pretty fucking far from okay. Gone Pulp Fiction on me. Gonna have to call up some hard pint-hitting truckers. But yeah, it works out pretty nicely because the bonnet kind of spreads wider. Put the Loaf on there, pulled the winch to retract him in, and then his wheels just kind of, yeah, get spread over the bonnet. Job's a good one. Keep the winch attached to him. And now he's doing a wheelie. And I mean, look at him. He's like all in one. Navigator. Probably landmine detection while we're going along. Everything. It's got fuel supplies. Got repairs. Because we are running pretty low on fuel now. And yeah, I even had a little adjusted the crane because I was using the winch now from the back of the Tayga to the back of the Loaf, which is kind of pulling, yeah, the Loaf towards me. But as its tyres are wedged on the bonnet, it just kind of lifts the Loaf up. And he's good. It's like a hood ornament. I mean, like I said, he's a multi-talented individual. His days watching Pornhub weren't wasted. He learnt something. It's quite, like, recently, because the weather's got better, these birds, I don't know how many live in my roof now, but Jesus Christ, they are noisy bastards the last week or two. I know I've said it before, and they are noisy, they were noisy bastards before, but what the hell they've been doing recently. I'm sure there's about 8 different nests going on there now or something, but sounds like a full-on construction project going on, just perpetually in the walls. You never really quite hear it properly, but they're in there. A little bit sketchy around this corner, so it got its lean on, but Loaf, he knows his weights. And then I'm not sure if I was quite running out of fuel, but 13 litres, although it's about that time. I'm going to have to swap it over. I could switch to the Loaf to move the roof rack fuel over, but then it'll disconnect the winch, and I'll just move the Loaf's fuel over. I mean, what a gentleman. He saved 1 litre of fuel for himself. That's all he needs. Face sitting doesn't cost a lot of fuel. That is what we've learned. Get yourself a Loaf. That's what we always learn. Yeah, got it fueled up. That should be enough, hopefully. Like I said, in the end, I obviously following like the path on the mountain at the minute. I believe it's now, yes. You can see there is technically like little tracks running off to the left. It works out. It's actually not a bad little shortcut. I did use it a couple of weeks ago on a mission coming the opposite way. It was quite handy just to climb up there, sort of cut out all the faffing around of going like the long way down to the end of the farm and back round the roads and all that. And yeah, stuck it in high gear, floor it down there. It's actually like a pretty smooth run. They've not really like laced it with rocks and all sorts of annoying stuff either. Close there, but it didn't kick me out of high gear or anything. Good news, I knew we're on the home straight now. Taking a bit of damage. Actually took a fair bit of damage really the whole way round. Suspension almost dead. Engine took a bit of beating. Fuel tank's about half. I'm sure a couple of the tyres are probably close to popping, but we're all good. Sorry, that was my phone going off. If you could hear it. Yeah, made it 43 litres. Got to switch to like cargo management because I've got the winch attached to the Loaf. It's offering me the engine thing. Yeah, drop 2 of them off. That obviously makes them disappear. The next 2 pieces of cargo sort of drop down. Click pack cargo. Go back into the menu, which for some reason had gone back to the Loaf's engine. Load those last 2. Job's good and mission done. I didn't actually read what it said in the end. Pretty slim pickings though. 3,900 or something on the money, which is pretty tight to say the least. I think that mission should have been more like a 10-15 grand mission really. It would have been about the same mission even if I had brought the correct equipment and had like a saddle low and all that. But yeah, either way, we got it done in the bag. Like I said, a little bit scruffy and sketchy. Apologies for the slightly scruffy editing and that going on as well. It's just, yeah, even though it's only been a few days, it feels like it's been months. But yeah, anyway, that's about it for today though. I hope you've enjoyed. I hope that helps. Thanks for watching. Thanks for our Patreon members. Get yourself a Loaf because he's a goddamn horse of a vehicle, and without him he tipped me over and he refueled me. It's a goddamn beast. Yeah, I'll be back soon.